COPE, that's the Congress of the People, has congratulated one of its own on becoming the new mayor of Tshwane. Dr. Murunwa Makwarela was elected last night with support from the ANC and the EFF. Party members held a briefing earlier today where they discussed his victory in the Tshwane Council. All of this was brought on by the resignation earlier last month of Randall Williams, the DA mayor. Now, the party, that's the DA, with its coalition, had put forward Slayers Brink as their mayoral candidate, but he lost out last night because Dr. Makwarela got 112 votes of the 213 ballots cast. He's joined us now, the new mayor of Tshwane, in studio. A very good evening to you, Mayor. Welcome, congratulations. When did you decide that you wanted to lead Tshwane?
30 minutes before council.
Who convinced you? What convinced you?
Well, remember, as the Speaker of Council, I'm the chairperson of council, so I actually converse with all the parties that are represented in council. So, there's a system where, you talk with party leaders all the time as the Speaker of council. So, some of them were just like teasing me and checking out whether, I'll be ready to accept the role on the proposition they were making. But, of course, I remained true to the coalition agreement until 2 weeks ago. I had some innuendos of advancing a motion of no confidence against me because I was refusing to do certain things that, according to me, were illegal.
Who specifically approached you in the 30 minutes before the council meeting, before you made the decision that you would now run for mayor? Who from the other parties said to you, we think you're the right guy to do it?
It was a couple of one-party councillors. One of them was Nzwanana. Nzwanana is the leader of the ATM. And I think you would have seen that he's the one actually who proposed my name. I put my name forward. But equally, I think I also had a voice from the leader of the EFF. And
which leader of the EFF?
It's Councillor Obakeng Ramabotu.
Did you speak to the ANC chairperson, Banyazale Sufi? Did he speak to you directly at all about you becoming mayor?
No.
Who in the ANC spoke to you?
The regional party leaders.
And why you? I mean, in terms of numbers, to be clear, you're the only COPE councillor in the Tshwane Council. Why did they feel that you were the most capable when they had such a variety just among themselves to pick from?
Well, I think they looked at the experience that I carry. You must recall that, I'm actually a technocrat. I used to be the former head of the Department of Agriculture and Environmental Management, the department that I established in 2007. I've had multinational experience as a CEO of multinational companies, to be more specific, Israeli companies. I've studied abroad, as you are aware. I'm a genetic engineer, so I've quite a lot of experience. I've led also state-owned entities as the chairperson of boards and also chairpersons of committees. I think they were looking at that, but I think most specifically they were looking at my performance as the Speaker of Council, which is quite a challenging job indeed if you really look at the current situation insofar as coalition governments are concerned.
Was yesterday the first time you'd had those conversations? Because the DA and your former coalition partners say that's not true, and you basically, and I'm paraphrasing, began to betray the coalition because you had this greater goal in sight. You'd been offered the mayorship of Tshwane. Is that what happened?
I don't know how one would figure that out unless if people were spying on me, my whereabouts and stuff like that.
But
that they would no, it's not true. I mean, I'm just saying that my whereabouts are quite private. Unless if people claim that they were following me unceremoniously, so which would constitute a security threat, or unless they had backed my phones and then they were listening. But be that as it may, I said I'm the chairperson of council. I was not just the spokesperson. I mean, sorry, the speaker of coalition partners. I was the speaker of council. I speak with all the councillors all the time.
So when were you first approached to become mayor? I know you said you decided 30 minutes before the sitting yesterday, but when did the conversations begin?
It was not conversations. You must also understand how coalitions are actually made. I know you're trying to corner me, but...
not at all, actually. I'm just trying to understand because so much has been said about whether you were in backhanded dealings while you were still part of the coalition, but negotiating your way into the mayor seat. So I would like to give all of us a chance, including the people of Tshwane, to get a full account from your side.
Let me just tell you, you know the coalition that I just got myself into right now, it's comprised of 10 political parties. Now you can imagine one-seater guy convincing 10 political parties as big as the ANC, to elect me or to nominate me as the mayor. That would be a mountainous task. So that's hogwash. When people have lost and they try to actually cast aspersions towards a person in the stature of myself. I'm a very principled person. I'm a man of God, by the way. So, the issue stems from the AG report. People must focus on what the AG has said. There are billions of rands that went missing there. So people must stop throwing stones at the speaker. I didn't do anything. I didn't resign twice. They were just a comedy of errors, schoolboy mistakes that, the so-called big political parties, the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, it's just a yesterday party. I think they're trying to find their feet and they're having serious problems within their own caucuses. But I think I'm just being scapegoated. I didn't do anything. I was just doing my work as the Speaker of Council, and unfortunately, I didn't budge in actually exercising my impartial duties as the Speaker of Council.
And was it after the release of that AG report, which is alarming because it basically raises concern about Tshwane as a going concern, the spending of money? It comes at a time when people in Tshwane, just recently there were protests over water in Soshanguve. Were you approached before or after that report came out to be mayor?
I said I was asked 30 minutes. My memory is still very fresh. I was approached 30 minutes before.
So that was
and I was already, and remember, 2 weeks ago already, there were rumors. I was told by those who care about me that the DA caucus was planning behind my back. The fact that we have signed an agreement and we have dispute resolutions, as part of the clauses of the agreement. But people just, I don't know why so many people are scared of one person, So maybe you can have an interview and find out exactly what is so scary about me, that people could, conspire behind my back, try to tarnish. I've got my integrity, and that's the thing that I will remain with going forward.
So, in a statement last night, the DA said this: today's capture of local government was made possible by unaccountable minor political parties vulnerable to the patronage and pressure of the coalition of corruption, and drives home the urgent necessity for shoring up our country's democracy through fair and reasonable thresholds for election to public office. How do you respond to that claim?
That kind of disrespect of referring to the Congress of the People as a minor party. The Congress of the People is older than the Action SA. The Action SA is a minor party as far as the Congress of the People is concerned. Minor doesn't mean that you have one seat and then you are minor. We are quite, and by the way, you must understand our genesis. We were formed from the African National Congress. So our history in the struggle is not as minor as some people are trying to paint us. Now, corruption is what the AG said. If you can spend 10.4 billion irregularly so, wastefully so, and unauthorized, and that is corruption. Now, our values as the Congress of the People is that we shun corruption. Actually, that's why we actually ejected ourselves, served divorce papers to the ANC, because we saw that, the ANC was actually deviating from what we all stand for,
But now you work with the ANC in Tshwane.
Well, we are caught in a rock and a hard place. So call it jumping from the frying pan into the fire. But you've got to make it work. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the coalitions.
How much do you trust the ANC as a coalition partner, based on what you've just said?
Unfortunately, myself, I don't trust anyone. I can only trust God.
Okay. I want to ask you about something else that's happened in the hour since your election. I'm sure you've seen the big headline, the DA and the coalition now saying they're now going to launch some sort of investigation. They're trying to find, quote-unquote, traitors who basically betrayed them and voted in favor of your election. What is your take on that process, and were individuals who are still in the coalition approached to indeed vote for you?
You see, some people are nostalgic. They are still reminiscing old apartheid days and scare tactics. There are people there, in particular Freedom Front Plus. I can show you WhatsApps that are actually, I just don't take time to respond, you know, to dogs barking on a moving car. You know, people are just scaring people and, you know, thinking that they'll frog march them into voting their own way. But that's not my business. I only casted on one vote, and the rest came from wherever they came from. And let them be my guest. Let them go for their witch hunt. I think that's witch hunt. People must be allowed. That's why it's a secret ballot. Schedule 3 of our constitution of the country allows people to vote secretly, and the veil of that secrecy should be protected. Now, you know, people are trying to find out what happened behind the ballot box. I think these people, you know, COPE, you know, as one of our values is constitutionalism. Now, if you want to uncover what happened behind the ballot box, I think some parties still need to be schooled insofar as what democracy is all about.
Let's speak about the substantive issues. You are now mayor. You were clear last night that you want to fix infrastructure in Tshwane. The finances are a mess, so they require urgent attention. People in Soshanguve, as I was referencing, didn't have water. In Hammanskraal, when there is water, people say that water is filthy. Like many other cities, Tshwane has potholes in various parts of the city. In terms of your priorities, how do you rank each of these priorities, and when can we begin to see progress and improvement in the lives of voters?
Look, our finances are in a mess. Our cash flow is non-existent. But there are ways to go around it. As you would have heard in the SOPA address by the Premier of Gauteng Province, he is actually concerned that, you know, the metros are actually facing a whole lot of financial difficulties. How I want to go about is obviously to enter into partnerships, SLAs with the province, and also national government. You will recall that the seat of Tshwane is the seat of government. So, I mean, the president must take keen interest to ensuring that the city of Tshwane is working again. So how do I rank the priorities? Priorities are very simple. Back to the basics. What does it mean? Back to the basics. Fix potholes. There are so many potholes there. You know, make sure that the street lights are working. Make sure that our city is safe. We already have police, you know, in our workforce. You just have to make sure that they go back to do the basics. Make sure that women and children are protected. The city is livable again. Clean our parks. You know, let there be, you know, waste removal services in a predictable and efficient manner. Those are just basics. They don't need the extra amount of money to do. But equally, some of the things, you just need to change the mindset of people. Like, for instance, environmental awareness programs where we advocate that people, particularly those that are using public transport, they must not eat food and throw, you know, out.
Not litter.
No, they must not litter. I mean, like, come on. This is South Africa. I mean, we can't be beaten by Rwanda, Kigali, really. Come on. We need to wake up and, and smell the coffee.
The former finance minister, Tito Mboweni, will tell you that you should look to Rwanda and Kigali for examples on how to run a proper metro. In terms of what you have now outlined, when can we hold you accountable? Do we go back to Tshwane in 6 months? Do we go back in a year to see that you've changed things?
If I'm still the mayor, which I believe I will be for the next couple of months to come, the financial year 2022-23 is drawing into a close. So we are left with 3 months. And you know that the best practice in institutions around the world is that once there is a leader that is, elected into power, 100 days becomes a standard practice to check, the efficiency and, whether that particular person is actually holding out and actually doing what he or she said will do. So 100 days.
What can be achieved within 100 days? Because that's just over 3 months.
Yes, but you will also recall that, what we call the Service Delivery Business Implementation Plan, which is the annual year plan of the municipality. There are key performance indicators there that are agreed upon. Like, for instance, you talk about water delivery, in particular informal settlements. Those targets are there. The AG said we have performed below 50%. That's quite appalling. So all what I have to do in terms of performance management is to ensure that the budget is aligned with the outputs. It's as simple as that. We're not changing the annual plan of the municipality. It's left with 3 months. All what I have to do is to ramp up performance and to ensure that the budget that is used is aligned with the targets, the planned targets, so that at the end of the financial year, the AG said everything that is on paper is chalk and cheese with regard to budget versus the planned activities. So my job is to realign and refocus our activities in the annual plan and make sure that our performance is actually ramped up even to a distinction kind of level. 80% and above. I think that will be acceptable.
In 100 days?
In 100 days, it's possible.
Okay. So the budget is yet to be passed, right, in Tshwane? It's yet to be approved. Is that done?
It's actually the adjustment budget. The adjustment budget is not so much far off from the original budget that is that was approved.
How much?
Well, our budget is actually 45 billion, both capex, opex. But our job is to ensure we are not a going concern, meaning that our revenue streams are eroded. There has been some attempt to come with some well-publicized exercise that was not even well orchestrated called Tshwane Dr. People switch off 2-3 buildings and they go and open bottles of champagne.
So you need a nationalist to help?
No, actually, yes, there are credit controllers that I'm told. Actually, I've heard that they've been kept away because people were hyping this Tshwane Dr. at the expense of credit controllers. So I think they are there. We have a panel of those. And I think they are much more efficient because, how they collect is that, they are paid on the basis of or at the rate of the success of their collection.
Will you have to get loans, do you think, to get by?
Well, Moody's and other institutions have relegated us into oblivion. So, but for me, it's just to ensure that the municipality is actually funded off balance sheet. The province can do that. I've done it even before when I was head of department. Tshwane used to be the only municipality that had agriculture. And in terms of the constitution, agriculture is not particularly the competence of local government. But agriculture is done at a local space. So you just have to enter into SLAs. I have said I will knock into the doors even of private sector. The private sector have other kind of partnerships that they are willing to fund. So I think that's what we have to do in order to ensure that the city is brought back into its functionality again.
Okay. New Mayor of Tshwane, congratulations once more, Dr. Murunwa Makwarela. Good to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.